Hi everyone, so in this video I'm just going to talk about my journey into becoming a performer and everything that led me up to this point. It started when I was 11 years old. I was watching The Simpsons, as one does at 11, and during the advert break there was an advert that came on for a show called Jump London, which I now know was the first ever parkour documentary that aired on TV. Immediately, I dedicated my 11-year-old life to training parkour. All of my friends and all of my free time was spent up doing parkour and training. I continued training parkour until the age of around 15, where I slowly transitioned into tricking. It was a very similar sort of sport at the time, and a lot of free runners went into tricking and a lot of people practiced both, so it was a very natural transition for me. I spent a lot of time online and on the free running forums, getting to know other free runners since the community was too small to just know people in real life. You had to meet people on the internet and then travel to their cities to meet them and train. So I met an awful lot of friends this way, and some of the forum members themselves were actually either in the circus school or they were training to get into the circus school. And I'm talking about the National Centre for Circus Arts, which is the main circus school in England, in East London. And around the same sort of time, one of my friends in secondary school, Arthur, was training at the youth program of the circus school also. So by the time I was 18 and I'd finished college, I was really obsessed with tricking, and I'd gotten relatively good at it to the point where I was in a team called Genetrics, and we were sort of considered one of the leading teams in the UK at the time. Also at this time, I was planning to go to university directly from college, but instead I decided to take a year out to travel and mainly to trick more. Throughout this year I went to America several times to stay with my friend James, went to Loop Kicks. Throughout this time a lot of the forum members were a similar sort of age. One guy in particular, Skippy, who was auditioning for the circus school, and he wrote a very well written and detailed blog post about his experience at the audition. When I read that, it really motivated me to apply myself and to try and do the audition, because I felt like I could stand a chance based on what he'd written. So long story short, I applied to the circus school as one of my university options. I did get in and I decided to go. So at the age of 19, I joined circus school without the goal of performing, but just with the goal of continuing my acrobatics and specifically tricking. It didn't quite go to plan, and I soon, surrounded by the circus people, I started getting obsessed with circus. This was also combined with the fact that you couldn't specialize in tricking acrobatics. You had to choose another circus specific discipline. I chose juggling and acrobatics, so technically acrobatic juggling, and that was pretty much my story of getting into the circus. Throughout my 3 years at the circus school, performing was definitely not something that I enjoyed. I really preferred just training. So I never considered myself a performer, but by virtue of being at the school, I got some performance opportunities over those 3 years, which I took, and I sort of struggled through, but definitely learned a lot. I should probably emphasize that I was really not a performer at the time, up to the point where I was dreading theatre classes, and clown class in particular I really hated. So I definitely never wanted to become a performer. My main goal at this time was just to get through the circus school and to complete the third year show. The spectacle of the third year show seemed so out of my reach when I joined. I couldn't really imagine anything past this. Like, when I watched the third years at the time doing it, I couldn't picture myself in any way on that stage doing what they were doing, and I just couldn't see myself doing it. So eventually, obviously, I got to the time of third year, I did it. It was fine in the end. I was very nervous, but it was fine. And following this, after the third year show, we had a couple of months left in school without anything really to do. So I spent my time applying for jobs and sorting myself a path after the school. I landed myself a couple of auditions. One was for an opera. I went, I got the part, and that meant that I left circus school into a 3-month opera performing contract. Following this contract, I went immediately into another 3-month contract at a medieval themed banquet, and just like that, I sort of became a circus performer. There wasn't really much to it. I never imagined getting into performing. It was never my thing. I hated being on stage. I hated being in front of people. I just liked learning tricks and showing tricks and training. But yeah, I did 2 contracts. Throughout that time, I also did a few one-off gigs, and I just felt like after that I had enough experience to enter the world of being a circus performer. I should say that the first couple of years, even up to now, it's like 10 years on, I learned a lot from each job, and I definitely sort of continued my education, learning about performing by performing professionally. I was definitely not ready when I came out of the circus school. Technically, I probably was, but I just didn't know how to translate my skills on stage until a good couple of years later. And as I say, I'm still learning on every job that I do. So yeah, that's pretty much how I became a performer. It's quite a strange journey, and I often think, like, what if I went out of the room during that advert break and I missed Jump London and it didn't start this butterfly effect leading me to this point today. That's my story. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Leave me a like if you liked the video. Subscribe for more videos like this and more circus videos. Thanks for watching. Have a lovely day.